Have you ever been humiliated so deeply by the people who were supposed to love you that something in you finally snapped? Because that's exactly where I was the night my family called me a beggar, in front of an entire room full of guests, not knowing the ground they were standing on belonged to me. I remember sitting alone in my car afterward, hands trembling so violently I almost dropped my phone. My father's voice was still echoing in my head, sharp enough to cut, "Get this beggar out." My mother didn't defend me. My sister didn't blink. Security didn't hesitate. And the worst part? They genuinely believed I had no power, no value, no place among them. But here's the funny thing about underestimating someone. You never see the moment they stop caring about your approval. As I opened my banking app, the one they thought I barely had money in, I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not sadness. Something cleaner, sharper. A quiet realization that, with one swipe, I could change the entire night. Because there was one thing my family didn't know. The celebration they were enjoying so proudly? It was mine. And they were about to find out. Have you ever walked into a room hoping for peace, only to be reminded exactly where you stand in your own family's hierarchy? Because the moment I stepped into that celebration hall, I felt it. The shift. The stares. The way conversations paused just long enough for people to assess whether I belonged there. And then, of course, Vanessa saw me. She gave me that smile, the kind that isn't a smile at all, just a mask stretched over a lifetime of hidden superiority. "Oh," she said loudly, tapping her glass to get attention, "you actually made it. I wasn't sure you could afford the gas money." Laughter rippled across the table. Not from strangers. Not from coworkers. From my own family. Tell me, how would you react in that moment? Would you laugh it off? Bite your tongue? Pretend it didn't sting? I tried. I really did. But then my father stood up. "Everyone," he announced, gesturing toward me like I was a stain on the carpet, "this is our family's beggar. Always showing up uninvited. Always needing something. Even tonight, she's wearing a borrowed dress." The room went silent, waiting to see what I'd do. My chest tightened. My throat burned. But before I could speak, he snapped his fingers and told security, "Get her out." Just like that. No hesitation. As they grabbed my arm, dragging me toward the doors, I saw Uncle Jordan's face, shocked, furious, helpless. But it was what he whispered as I passed that made my blood run cold. "Your father isn't telling the whole truth, and you need to know why." What would you do if, in the middle of your deepest humiliation, someone whispered a truth that didn't just hurt, but rewired everything you thought you knew? Because when Uncle Jordan said, "Your father isn't telling the whole truth," something inside me stopped. Even as security shoved open the doors, even as my family turned away, pretending not to care, that sentence clung to me like a hook. Outside, the cold air hit my face, and for the first time all night, I could breathe. Security let go, muttering something about family disputes, and walked off. But Uncle Jordan didn't hesitate. He rushed out after me. "Maya," he said softly, gripping my shoulders, "you need to hear this." I'd never seen him look so angry. Not at me, at them. He told me things I wasn't prepared for. How years ago, when our family was drowning in debt, it wasn't Vanessa who saved them like they always bragged. It wasn't my father who negotiated miracles. It wasn't my mother who held the family together. It was me. The loan I gave them, the one they promised to pay back and never did, had not only saved the house, it saved their image, their reputation, their precious pride. And instead of acknowledging it, they rewrote the story to erase me completely. "Without you," Uncle Jordan said, "they would have lost everything." My chest tightened, not from hurt, but from clarity. Because he wasn't done. "And if they knew what you really do for a living now," he exhaled, "they'd be terrified." Have you ever been pushed so far that something inside you finally clicks into place? Not out of anger, but out of absolute certainty? That's what happened as Uncle Jordan's words settled in. All the years of being dismissed, overlooked, mocked, and all the while, I'd been the silent foundation holding their world together. And tonight, they had torn me down in a building I technically owned. So the question wasn't, should I fight back? It was, how loud do I want the truth to echo? I pulled out my phone. The same device they assumed contained nothing but overdue bills and empty balances, and opened the app tied to my largest investment, Langford Events Group, the company that purchased this venue 6 months ago. My venue. My staff. My rules. I typed a quick message to Mr. Langford, the manager on duty. Shut down the event. I'm coming in. His reply came within seconds. Understood, Miss Carter. Inside the hall, lights dimmed. Music cut mid-beat. The giant LED screens flickered. Confusion swept through the guests like a wave. And while they were scrambling to understand what went wrong, I walked back in through the side entrance, heels clicking, chin lifted, every step erasing years of silence. My father's face twisted. You have some nerve coming back in here. But before he could finish, Mr. Langford hurried over, positioned himself beside me, and spoke into the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. The owner of tonight's venue has arrived. Dozens of heads turned. And then he said it. Ms. Maya Carter. The room exploded in whispers. But they hadn't even heard the real reveal yet. What do you think happens when a room full of people who laughed at you suddenly realizes you were the one holding the power the entire time? Silence. Pure, stunned silence. My father blinked rapidly, like he was trying to process a foreign language. My mother's hand flew to her chest. Vanessa actually took a step back, as if the truth physically pushed her. I walked to the center of the room, took the microphone from Mr. Langford, and let the tension sit for a moment. Let them feel it. Let them worry. Some of you may be wondering why tonight's event suddenly stopped, I said calmly. So let me explain. Every face turned toward me. I didn't come here to embarrass my family, I continued. But since my father decided to humiliate me in front of all of you, it's only fair you hear the full story. My father hissed, Maya, don't you dare. But the mic wasn't in his hands. I faced the crowd. Years ago, when my family nearly lost everything, I paid off their debts. Every cent. They never paid me back. They never thanked me. They told everyone it was my sister who helped them. A wave of murmurs. Someone gasped. Vanessa's eyes reddened. Why would you say that? I'm not finished, I said. I began listing each thing I'd quietly done. Her car repossession I reversed. Her rent I secretly paid. Her credit card debt I cleared to save her job. The room shifted from shock to judgment. And then I said the one line that shattered whatever pride my parents had left. Tonight, you threw me out of an event I own. Dead silence. Then my father growled something that changed everything. Something that sealed his fate. My father stepped forward, face red, jaw clenched so tightly I thought his teeth might crack. And then, in front of every guest, every colleague, every person whose opinion he worshipped, he spat out the words that told the world exactly who he really was. You'll always be nothing without us. The room recoiled. Not because of what he said, but because everyone finally understood the truth. I had never needed them. They had always needed me. I took a slow breath, let the weight of his final self-destruction settle, and handed the microphone back to Mr. Langford. I think that's all the clarity we needed tonight, I said. And with that, I turned and walked out, not dramatically, not angrily, but peacefully. Like someone stepping out of a cage she didn't know she'd been living in. Uncle Jordan caught up to me outside, pride softening his features. You did the right thing, he said. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. But for the first time in my life, I felt free. And here's the thing I want you to remember. Sometimes the people who call you worthless are terrified you'll discover your worth. I did. And their world crumbled the moment I stopped believing their version of me.